The morning sun filtered through the tall glass windows of Alder plus West Designs, casting clean lines of light across the sleek, modern conference. Camille Harris stood at the head of the table, her presentation projected behind her, a bold, sustainable housing proposal that combined affordability. The room was silent. She clicked through renderings of rooftop gardens, water-efficient design layout, and carbon neutral. She spoke with calm authority, her voice even but passionate, each word carrying the weight of 12 years spent perfecting her craft. This isn't just a housing gesturing, it's a community model. It's how we make cities. There was a moment of silence, then polite applause. Her juniors, mostly younger architects, nodded with vague while her boss, Craig Madison, gave a tight and checked his. That's when Angela from Air stepped in, walking brisk. Room fell silent. Camille, can you step outside with me? I'm in the middle of a presentation. I know, it's urgent. Now? Craig cleared. It's best we. That's when the envelope, the company's off-board. Wait, this about? I need laptop. A low, uncertain Jenna in the hallway's desk. Past the time her badge had been deactivated. Outside in the parking lot, she sat in her 12 years. That's how long Camille Harris had given to Alder plus West Design. When she joined, it was a modest studio in a shared office space in Midtown. 5 employees, secondhand chairs, and dreams bigger than their budget. Camille came in as a junior architect, stayed late when others left, and spoke up with ideas no one else dared to. She helped land their first city contract by cold calling a developer herself. She designed their first award-winning housing, built their design work from scratch, and trained almost every junior architect who walked through or after. And yet, the moment she left the building that morning, it was had never. Her phone sat silent, not the same Jenna she coached her client me defended near firing. Jenna, who now sat in her asking, but every.
The rejection emails came like a slow, steady leak, one by one, always polite, always cold. We've decided to move forward with another candidate. We appreciate your interest. Not the right fit at this time. Camille stopped opening them after a while. The sting was too familiar, too expected. She applied everywhere. Boutique firms, big names, non-profits, city planning boards, anything remotely connected to design, but without references from Alder plus West, and without her name attached to any portfolio pieces. She was invisible. 12 years of work, and nothing to show for it but silence. One Thursday night, Danielle showed up at her door in heels and a blazer, phone in hand, practically buzzing with energy. "You're coming with me tonight," she announced. Camille didn't argue. She was too tired to fight. They ended up at a rooftop networking mixer in Midtown, all glass panels, neon signs, and tech bros in sneakers that cost more than rent. The air smelled like ambition and overpriced cocktails. Danielle worked the room like a pro, hugging founders and clinking glasses with VCs. Camille stood near the bar, quietly sipping a ginger beer, feeling out of place. She didn't speak their language. Everything was scalable, disruptive, beta launched. No one seemed to care about real design or real people. Then, someone bumped her elbow, not hard, but enough to spill a few drops on her blazer. "Oh God, sorry. Long day. I'm barely human right now." Camille turned to see a petite woman with dark curly hair piled into a messy bun, blazer over a hoodie, and tired eyes. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in 2 days. "I'm good," Camille said, dabbing her sleeve. "No harm done." The woman extended a hand. Lena Cruz, Camille Harris. Lena's brow lifted. "Architect," Camille hesitated. "Yes, or used to be." Lena let out a laugh. "Same, used to build things. Now I mostly put out fires." She nodded toward the crowd. "I run a company, I'm Verba. We're doing modular housing with integrated AI design, trying to scale to mid-size urban markets." Camille nodded, intrigued despite herself. "How's that going?" "Terribly. We've tried working with 4 different firms. None of them get it. One sent us floor plans with fax numbers in the footer. I'm 2 months behind and losing my mind." Camille tilted her head. "You're trying to use static design methods for a dynamic problem. Most architecture firms don't know how to speak tech, and most tech companies don't understand zoning law." Lena blinked. "Wait, what?" Camille shrugged. "You need someone who can bridge both. Build design systems that flex with municipal codes, integrate user data for community planning, and still pass inspection." Lena looked like she had just been handed oxygen. They talked for another hour. Camille forgot she was unemployed. She forgot the ache of being replaced. She just talked about density ratios, solar yield, urban decay, design as dignity. By the end of the night, Lena had her card. "I'll be in touch." Don't disappear on me. 3 days later, Camille's phone rang. It was Lena. I talked to my board. I don't want an outside firm. I want you. I need someone who can build an architecture division from scratch. It's yours. Full autonomy. Salary, shares, your own team. Camille's heart raced. You sure about this? Camille, you were the smartest person in that entire building, and I'm the CEO. I don't have time for doubt. There was a long pause on Camille's end. Her fingers gripped the phone tighter. For 12 years, she had been told to wait her turn, to earn it slowly, to not ask for too much. But that woman was gone now. All right, she said finally, but I want full design control. Done. Lena didn't even blink. Camille hung up, slowly sinking back into the chair. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the unfamiliar buzz of possibility. For the first time in years, she wasn't asking to be let in. She was being asked to build the door. Camille quickly discovered that Verba was nothing like the world she came from. The office was a converted warehouse in downtown Atlanta, full of whiteboards scribbled with half-finished ideas, beanbags instead of conference chairs, and 20-somethings typing furiously while wearing noise-cancelling headphones and hoodies. Slack messages replaced emails. Meetings happened over coffee runs. Everything moved faster than she was used to, and far looser. At first, she struggled. Her first design meeting at Verba started 15 minutes late, ended 30 minutes early, and half the team forgot to show up. She missed memos because they were posted on Discord. One engineer called her ma'am during a brainstorm, and she wasn't sure if she should be insulted or grateful. She was the oldest person in the building, and the only one who still used paper for notes. But Camille was sharp. She watched, listened, and adapted quickly. And she had one major advantage. She knew how to get things built. While the engineers optimized their code and the operations team worried about funding, Camille began assembling a new architecture team from the ground up. But not just anyone. She dug into her old network, the quiet, overlooked talents that never got their moment, designers passed over for promotions, women who had been talked over in meetings, immigrants who never got credit for their contribution. She remembered their names, and now she called them. One of the first to respond was Nathan Okafor. Nathan had been a junior designer at Alder Plus West, full of vision and idealism. Craig had praised him publicly, but consistently stole his ideas, even presenting one of Nathan's zoning flexibility models as his own during a city council pitch. Nathan had quit 2 years ago, bitter and burned out. When Camille emailed him, he didn't even hesitate. If you're building it, I'm in. Within a month, Camille had assembled a small but powerful team. They worked out of a corner of Verba's warehouse, sketching prototypes late into the night, arguing over airflow and materials, laughing over shared stories of terrible past bosses. The energy was raw, honest, rebellious. It reminded her why she fell in love with design in the first place. But over at Alder Plus West, the cracks were forming. Jenna, now the senior project manager, was floundering. She struggled with deadlines, gave vague feedback to clients, and failed to secure a renewal with a major commercial client. Her team, once Camille's team, was frustrated and directionless. One day, a client, a well-known non-profit housing foundation, called Alder Plus West to back out of their contract. The reason? They had seen Camille Harris's name on a press release from Verba. Camille hadn't planned for it to go public so soon, but Lena believed in spotlighting her hires. The headline read, "Verba expands into urban architecture with Camille Harris leading the way." Inside Alder Plus West, chaos erupted. Craig called an emergency meeting. Staff whispered in corners. Jenna looked pale. And Craig? He did something Camille had not expected. He called her. She answered, if only out of curiosity. "Camille," he said, his voice carefully measured. "I've been meaning to reach out. I think we left things unfinished." "Unfinished?" she repeated, incredulous. "You were a core part of Alder Plus West for a long time. I'm sure you miss it. If you're open to consulting, we can..." She laughed, once, sharp and joyless. "No, Craig, I don't miss anything." A beat of silence. "I'm just saying, we can bring you on in a senior advisory role. Quietly, help steer the ship a little. You'd still be part of the brand." Her voice went cold. "This time, Craig, my name's on the wall." Then she hung up. He didn't call again. But not everything at Verba was smooth sailing. As Camille's designs gained attention, Lena started receiving calls from investors, nervous ones. They liked Camille's work, but it was expensive. Custom materials, community co-design models, projects that took time. They wanted speed, scale, margin. Camille sat in on a board meeting where one investor openly asked, "Are we building innovation or a museum?" Camille's stomach turned, but before she could speak, Lena stood up. "You don't hire someone like Camille Harris and then doubt her," she said simply. "She knows this industry better than any of us. Let her do her job." After the meeting, Camille found her alone in the kitchen. "You didn't have to defend me," she said softly. "I didn't," Lena replied. "I defended the future of this company." Camille didn't say anything, but in that moment, a quiet sense of belonging settled into her chest. Not because she was being protected, because she was finally being trusted. The Riverlight urban plan was supposed to be Alder plus West's crown jewel, a sprawling redevelopment project for a neglected riverfront district, dozens of acres to be converted into housing, public parks, and commercial hubs. It was the firm's most ambitious proposal in years, and Craig had placed all his bets on it. Winning Riverlight meant media attention, new investors, and a seat at the national table. The final presentations were scheduled for the first week of fall. The Architectural Council would hear from 3 firms. Craig was confident Alder plus West would dominate, but then something unexpected happened. A member of the council, an urban development advisor named Joanna Paulson, received a folder from Camille Harris, not from Alder plus West, from Verba. It contained a competing vision for Riverlight, more compact, modular, and sustainable, with AI-informed transit mapping, community-integrated green spaces, and adaptive units designed to evolve with a residents' changing needs. Camille had spent months secretly developing it, under Lena's encouragement, as a moonshot, but now it was real, complete with engineering specs, timeline estimates, and a scalable pilot site already underway in East Atlanta. Joanna flipped through the pages. She had seen Camille's work before, but this was something else. She requested a last-minute addition to the public presentation schedule. Verba was added to the docket. Craig wasn't notified until 3 days before the event. The morning of the presentation, the large community auditorium buzzed with local developers, officials, and reporters. Alder plus West's team sat front row, polished and poised. Craig wore his favorite grey suit. Jenna sat beside him, flipping through note cards. Then, Camille walked in. She didn't look at him. She took the stage without fanfare, dressed in all black. Her Verba badge clipped at her waist. No PowerPoint slides, just a massive digital screen and a live demonstration. "Riverlight is more than a district," she began. "It's a chance to start over. We don't need to erase what was here. We need to evolve it." She walked them through her proposal. Prefabricated modular housing with solar-integrated rooftops, smart energy grids, public art corridors co-designed by community youth, and a predictive infrastructure system that adjusted city services based on real-time data. It wasn't flashy, it was revolutionary. The audience sat spellbound. When she finished, there was a beat of silence, then a wave of applause, louder than any given to the earlier firms. Craig watched from the back of the hall, arms crossed, his jaw tight. He hadn't clapped. Camille didn't acknowledge him. She just walked off stage and sat next to Lena, who gave her a subtle nod of pride. 2 weeks later, the council released its decision. Riverlight was awarded to Verba. The news made headlines. Local papers praised the fresh, inclusive approach. Urban blogs called Camille's design the most realistic vision of modern city living in decades. Alder plus West's proposal wasn't even mentioned in the summary. Inside their firm, the fallout was swift. One of their senior clients pulled out of a pending deal. 2 architects resigned the same day. Jenna stopped showing up for meetings. Craig locked his office door and didn't speak for hours. Meanwhile, Camille's phone didn't stop buzzing. She was invited to speak at an international urban planning summit. MIT requested her as a guest lecturer, and then came the call from Fast Company. A week later, the article went live. Camille stared at the title on her screen, barely breathing. They let her go without a word. She built an empire without looking back. Her photo was centered beneath the headline, standing on the Riverlight site, hard hat in one hand, her eyes set on something far beyond the horizon. Not revenge, not nostalgia, just forward, just. By the end of the year, Camille had done something most firms took a decade to attempt. She had built an architecture division from the ground up, and not just any team. Her group at Verba was sharp, diverse, and fiercely independent. Formerly sidelined talents from across the industry now worked side by side with young visionaries just starting out. Their backgrounds varied, their stories complex, but they shared one thing: belief in Camille's vision. She no longer stayed in the office until midnight, cleaning up everyone's mess. She didn't chase after perfection for someone else's applause, and she definitely didn't carry other people's failures on her back anymore. She had become something rare in the design world, a leader who mentored without controlling, who collaborated without burning out, who let her team shine without needing to dim herself. And for the first time in her life, Camille was respected, not merely tolerated, not quietly resented, but seen as essential and valued. She remembered what Danielle had told her months ago. They don't respect loyalty, they respect leverage. Camille had found a new kind of leverage: influence, impact, ownership. Meanwhile, the foundation of Alder plus West began to crack. It started with quiet exits: one mid-level architect here, a project manager there. Then the marketing director jumped ship. Then 2 lawsuits emerged, one from a former employee citing harassment and unfair termination, and another from a client claiming contractual fraud on a zoning application. And then came the final blow. A whistleblower complaint was filed anonymously with the state licensing board. It alleged consistent unethical practices, including credit theft and false licensing on public documents. The report included time-stamped files, emails, and internal notes. Only someone like Nathan would know where to look. Camille never asked. She didn't need to. She didn't celebrate Alder plus West's downfall, but she didn't grieve it either. Instead, she quietly channeled her energy into something better. In February, Verba hosted its first Women in Design Leadership Summit, and Camille stood at the center of the announcement: a new annual scholarship fund to support women of color pursuing architecture, urban planning, and sustainable design. She named it after her late mother, the Angela Harris Foundation. Her mother, who once told her, "Don't let them shrink you to fit their mold. They'll keep you small if you let them." Camille remembered those words the night she walked away from Alder plus West, stripped of everything but her own name. Now, her name opened doors. She gave keynote speeches, appeared on podcasts, mentored young girls from underserved schools. But not once, not a single time, did she mention Alder plus West in her interview. Not when journalists asked what had inspired her bold designs. Not when tech blogs asked how she navigated betrayal. Not even when alumni magazines hinted at the transition. She simply smiled and said, "Sometimes the place you grow isn't the place you're meant to bloom." She didn't need to name them. The world already knew. The auditorium lights dimmed as the chatter faded into silence. Rows of young women, some with braids, some in hijabs, others in thrifted blazers and borrowed confidence, looked up at the stage, notebooks in their laps, hope in their eyes. Camille stood just off stage, adjusting the mic clipped to her collar. She had given talks before, boardrooms, universities, summits, but this felt different, more personal. She stepped into the light. The applause was polite at first, unsure. Many of them didn't know who she was, not really, but they'd read the article, heard the buzz. They knew her as the woman who had walked away from something big and built something bigger. She took a breath and began. "I used to think I had to prove myself to people who had already decided not to see me." Heads lifted, pens froze. "I spent years waiting for someone to say I mattered, to put my name on things I built, to tell me I belonged." She looked out over the crowd, so many faces like hers, full of talent and fire and exhaustion. They didn't think I was essential until I left. They didn't know I was the engine, so I built my own train. The silence that followed was heavy, reverent. Then the applause rose, slow and strong, swelling into something that felt like a wave of affirmation. In the back row, Danielle held up her phone, recording every word. She smiled, eyes glassy with pride, and whispered just loud enough for herself. They tried to replace her, and ended up watching her replace them. Camille stepped off the stage and into a sea of hands waiting to shake hers, voices asking questions, girls saying thank you. She smiled. She didn't need validation anymore. She was the blueprint. Fade out. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.